Mhm.
I'm going to put mine on. Get those views going. I'm going to call mom and they call me.
Peace, peace, everyone.
Islam.
Islam, everyone that's coming in.
Islam.
Oh,
Have fun, baby. I'm outside.
this is my first time actually going live by myself.
Hey, have
So,
fun. I'm right here.
Trying to figure this thing out. Y'all bear with us. Y'all bear with me while I figure out if I'm being heard. Can y'all hear me?
Let me call in first. Let me check her out.
If you can hear me, type 7 in the chat. Okay, I can be heard. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. So before we get started, it's my husband already saying stay on high. And I am staying on high. So I'm just trying to figure out how to share my screen. Give me one moment. I'm just trying to figure out how to share my screen. All right. Peace, everyone, for coming out tonight. Try to fix my resolution, but for some reason, I wasn't able to do so. Let me share my cam so everybody can see me. I wasn't able to do so. So, like when I look on, it might just be on my mobile device, and a lot of y'all are probably watching on a mobile device. But on my camera, it looks normal, it looks regular, but when I click on like my PowerPoint, for some reason it looks really, really blurry when I go into um, the PowerPoint presentation. So tonight I'm going to be talking about this is not a cult. Stop allowing leaders rule you and diminish your light. For those who don't know me, I am Sister K. Glover Ill to some of you all. I am aunt to some of you all. I am just Sister Crystal. I might be cousin, niece. I am wife to Brother Richard Neal Bay. And I am just one of those who came into this Moorish information some years ago. And when I came into the Moorish information, I saw a lot of resemblance of what I was brought up in, which was the church. I was born and raised pretty much in the church and Church of God in Christ. So when I came into the temple, I saw the structure that I saw growing up in church. So that's the reason why I stayed. All right. So before we get in, I just need to give a shout out to our sponsor. Tonight, our sponsor is More Hemp World. For those who do not know, we have a company by the name of More Hemp World, and we sell CBD infused products. All right. So the CBD infused products, you can go to the website at www.morehemp.world. And currently, if you use my coupon code that is in the description, you'll get 10% off. You'll get 10% off if you use my coupon code within the in the description. So be checking that out after the live stream. All right, so let's get right into it. Again, peace to everyone that just came out and all those who are in the chat. Because so many people is like, what are you talking about? This is not a cult. This is not a cult. This is not a cult. A lot of people called today, want to know, like, what are you going to be talking about? What are you going to be discussing? And really what I'm going to be getting into is I posted 2 pictures in a Facebook group. And that's what originally initiated this. I posted 2 pictures in a Facebook group the other day, and I was just sharing, like, this is, because I have studied divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, these are some of the things that I've learned. And so I posted it, I shared it, and automatically my I didn't realize it until later on that my pictures were removed. So I'm like, my pictures are removed. What's going on? And then I read where I read some of I read one of the notifications, and it said that I wasn't using the they said I wasn't using, what did it say? It said I was going against the group standards. I'm like, what do you mean? Now I'm gonna let y'all into a little bit of my world, right? Because this is what I do. I'm gonna share this screen. This is what I do. Because I don't like to just talk about it, but I am really about what I say that I am. So for those who don't know, I am what you call a Facebook contributor. I edit things on the behalf of Facebook. And I want to share this screen so you all can just see. I hope it allows me to bring up my analytics as well. So I know, like, I've taken courses and things of that nature. So I know if I'm, like going against the community standards or the group standards, like I don't even go, if I'm put, a lot of times people will put me in a group and I'll take myself out, especially groups where the admin of the group will only allow themselves to post. That you don't need a group for that. You need a page for that. If you're going to be an admin where only you can post, there's no need for a group. A group is for a discussion, right? A group is to communicate with one another. That's what a group is for. But if you are going to be the only one who can contribute, the only one who can post in the group, then you need a page and not a group. Trying to see if it'll let me pull this up here. Let me see, share. Window. All right, so here I am right here. And this is what I'm able to do. Like right now, I am number one this week in my rank, right? Contributions people agreed with, yada, 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 yada. These are some of the places that I contribute to. I'm allowed to provide information to Facebook about different locations, and it's literally locations everywhere. So anytime that I'm like if you have a location on your smart device, it'll automatically, and you're logged into Facebook, it'll automatically pick up these locations. So when I log into the editing portion of Facebook, it allows me to input information about locations that I've passed or locations that I've gone into. All right. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going against the group standards. Like, oh no, I didn't go against the group standards. The group standards, because I actually was within the group standards. And then after I had made the post about me not about me being kicked out of the group, the person who created the group came on my post. Now, I purposefully made sure that I did not mention anyone's group name. I did not because that wasn't my purpose. My purpose was not to mention any group's name. My purpose was not to mention or tag anyone in it at all. The only thing that I was doing was I was expressing that I was kicked out of a group because I had posts. I put 2 photos in the group, and they said that it was going against the standards. And then they came on my post and said, well, you can post as long as it is about the teachings of the prophet. That's right. That's right, Neil Bay. Chess move. Because this is the thing. I never have to mention anyone's name. Like I don't even do that. I don't even like giving out names. That's never been my style. I've never been about sharing anybody's name or anything like that out in the public. That's not, no, that ain't what I do. Now if you come and ask me, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna tell the truth. But if it's like a public venue or something like that, I'm not gonna do that. We don't do that. So uh they came, even though I didn't mention the name, I didn't mention the group name, I didn't tag them, I didn't talk about them, none of that. All I did was express that I was kicked out of the group and that I would be doing a YouTube live tonight about the situation so that I can actually bring clarity so that I can use this as a teaching moment. All right. So let's get into this. And again, I really hope that it's showing up clearly for you all. But this is, right here it says, the Prophet Noble Drew doesn't teach question. The Prophet Noble Drew doesn't teach question. And this was one of the photos that I put up. Move this out the way. This was one of them. Let me share this. I wish that it would just like automatically switch over and share, but you actually have to go in every time if you want to share something different, if you want to share a different screen. All right, so it says Moorish Science Temple of America begins at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. It has our email address, www.mstahohr805.co. Our phone number, and the title is Bookkeeping Series 102. Bookkeeping 102 series. And this is what you will be learning in the series. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit more. Learn to amend trust estate. Learn to add attachments to trust estate. Learn proper double book accounting. Learn how to make court orders. Learn to balance your family thrift. Right? Now, later on, that same individual came on the post after I had said last night that I was going from it. I wasn't even going to, speak to him about it any longer. He said what he needed to say. I said what I need to say. I'm just going to use my platform to bring awareness, right? And then this other picture that I put in there says return to sender 15 USC 1692 E3, false and misleading, and 15 USC 1692 CA. It also says the word copy, and then it also says special deposit to be redeemed in lawful money per 12 USC 411 by location for signature, estate, and then all rights and liberties reserved. And then it says the same thing if you have a trust, right? So this is basically showing different ways on what I'll be teaching in the class, how to properly endorse your signature or your autograph, whatever you want to call it, for your trust and for your family's estate. A copy would be if you are given a copy of a document to some type of entity, right? You could use a stamp, or I should say, a stamp, a self ink stamp, or even a regular stamp with the stamp pad that says copy, and you can put copy on it and let it to just make sure that that document is recorded or is seen as a copy and not the original. And then return to sender. That's dealing with the mail. Whenever you are receiving mail, and these are all within the all these things that I'm teaching and I've learned within the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. And what happens a lot of times is, from my experience in the temple, not from the temple that I am a member of, not the temple that I join, but a lot of times what I've learned is when people join, or member citizens join our temples over here, they'll say things like, I never learned anything about trust and estate. I never learned how to correct my name. I never learned how to correct the Negro, black, color, Ethiopian, Afro American, African American, all these different badges of slavery that they put on. I never learned how to correct that. And a lot of times in the community, it's considered as, or it's called like a correction status or status of correction. And so that's what you learn coming in the door over here. You're going to learn these things within our new members Learning Academy modules. I started teaching the new members Learning Academy modules around the end of 2014. And so I've grown a lot from what I started teaching, but the very foundation of what I taught, it's still within the modules, weeks 1 through 5. And then I just added on because I've learned that really everything that we do is within commerce. Even being able to choose, if, what am I going to wear today? All right. Being able to choose, what am I going to eat today? Being able to choose, how long am I going to work out today? If I'm going to go work out today, if I'm going to go to work today or not, if I'm going to, take care of my children or today or not. Everything has to do with a give and exchange of some type of commercial transaction. I don't care where you are, what you're doing, you will see the what you do in your everyday transactions, whether it be telling someone I love you, it is a give and you're going to want to return on a take. All right. Islam. So these are the both of these photos is what I put in the group. And so I want to go to the next slide, which is, and then I'm gonna come back to those photos. We're gonna go to the next slide, and the next slide says, "What is Moorish Temple of America?" Because most of the time we don't even really know what we're joining. We're just joining something because some of us saw somebody on a YouTube video and it inspired us or it intrigued us. Some of us are joining because we have a relative that's always talking about the temple, and the people that they hang with, they're always talking about the temple, the temple, the temple. So they are inquisitive and they want to know. So they actually begin to go, or they go for a visit. Some of us just are able to say, you know what? I'm in the search. I'm searching, and I'm seeking, and I want to find who I am. and we just are led to the temple. Some of us were born and raised in the temple. What is Moorish Science Temple of America? Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered religious organization, charitable philanthropic mission, agrarian society, body politic, in a corporation or corporate, right? So let's break it down. A lawfully chartered religious organization. A corporate charter, also known as charter or articles of incorporation. So what we see every time that we go into our temples and we see all the beautiful symbols that's on it, that's not a corporate charter. It's a different type of charter, but it's not a corporate charter. Corporate charter is the articles of incorporation. Okay? Now, articles of incorporation is a written document filed with the Secretary of State or registrar in Canada by the founders of the corporation. It details the major components of a company, such as its objectives, structure, and planned operations. If approved by the state, the company becomes a legal corporation. All right. So let's go to, because I got another I want to go to investopedia.com. I'm going to pull that up for you all so we can get into this. Investopedia.com. And it says corporate charter, and it reads exactly what I just read, because that's where I got the definition from. But what I like is where it says key takeaways. A corporate charter is a document filled with the Secretary of State or registrar to establish a company as a corporation. The corporate charter must detail the governance, structure, objectives, operations, as well as other major details of the company. The creation of corporate charters is the start to building a new corporation. Corporate charters signal the birth of a new corporation. Once filed and approved, a corporation becomes legitimate and legal. The document must be created and filed before the company can transact as a corporation. If the corporate charter is not created before the business starts, the owners expose themselves to risk, including being personally liable for all the possible damages and debts created by the business during the period that the corporation transacted business without a legitimate corporate charter. All right. And I'm going to stop right there and give a little bit of breakdown. So most of us are aware, and those who aren't aware, the corporate charter, the Articles of Incorporation for Moorish Science Temple of America, was incorporated July 20th, 1928. All right, I want to share let me see if I can share this. because this is what we call our authority. This right here. This is what's on the back of our questionnaire. Now, some people may say, well, our authority is not until August 1st, right? Because it says August 1st on the document, but that's the day that Cook County Recorder of Deeds received it and stamped it. However, if we go to the bottom, this right here says July 20th.
I think I get more people than you. That you said it.
July 20th. (1928). So whenever the notary public, which is a deputy notary for the state, whenever they notarized it, it became a lawful incorporation date. Islam. All right. So let's go through it, right?
Go through it.
And I'm not going to really go through much of it other than it gives the name, Moorish Science Temple of America. And then it gives Noble Drew Ali, Millie Yales, Small Bay, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay as the all the co-incorporators, because all of these are co-incorporators. These are peers amongst one another. They make up the corporate body who have all of the authority as sheiks doing the business as if they were trustees on the behalf of the corporation. And this is no different from any other corporation. I don't know why it is that many Moorish Americans love to act as if the Prophet Noble Drew Ali did something that no one else could do, because he used the template from Hers Revised Statutes. So, and it was a state statute, so everyone could use it. Anyone and anyone could use it. But for some reason, I think that comes from the mental illness that we all struggle from, and we always want to act like, oh man, well, my prophet did, and my prophet did, and
nobody else do.
My prophet did, and we start to begin to look and glorify the man instead of doing what the man told us to do. We are stuck in that mental illness of just constantly glorifying. I've heard people glorify the prophet more than they even glorify their mothers and their fathers. And if it wasn't for their mother and their father, they wouldn't even be here.
Right.
I mean, that right there in itself is a mental illness. If you can give honors, I give high honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. What about giving high honors to your mother? No matter what she's done, no matter what type of life she's lived, no matter if she was not a mother to you once you got here, she was a mother enough to you to get you here. Islam, if it wasn't for your father, and sometimes y'all call them, sperm donors, and He was just that, and that's all he was. And he wasn't in my life, and he didn't do anything for me, and he didn't give my mother child support. Whatever it is, if it wasn't for his donation, you would not be here, right? And we talk about man honoring man. He honors his father, God Allah. What about honoring your father that got you here? What about honoring your mother that carried you for you to get here? All right. So we got to definitely get to the point where we don't get so caught up in just the man worship.
That's right.
Because a lot of us just really a lot of us worship Prophet Noah Ali.
And he was against that.
And he was against that. He did not tell us to worship him. This is the reason why he wasn't, so focused on letting everybody know who his parents were. That's right. This is the reason why. Because I'm just imagine if, y'all would have been able to just roll up on his family and be like, oh man, the prophet. The Prophet Noah Ali. Well, you know what? I'm one of the followers. I'm the grand sheep of the Moorish Temple of America. I'm the supreme grand sheep. Just imagine Miliel, just sliding down on the prophet's parents and his nephews and nieces and uncles and aunts and his grand. Like, just imagine that would be so awkward. But we do it all the time. We even do it with those who are within positions today that's in the temple. Sometimes people, it was funny, I was building with a brother last week, and he said that he had met one of those that goes by the title Supreme Grand Chief. And he had met him on the East Coast, and he had seen him with his fez on. And so he was like, Supreme Grand Sheik such and such, because I'm not going to call no names because I don't do the name thing. That's right. But Supreme Grand Sheik such and such. And he was like, nah, I don't know him, but I heard about him. He was like, oh, well, that's my father. And he said he told him, no, I don't know him, because he really doesn't know him. But he told him he heard about him, because he didn't know if he was going to do something to him. Like he was going to, try to harm him. If you were like, yeah, that's my Supreme Grand Chief, and this is that, and I love him, and that. It's nothing wrong with that. We got to get out of the man worship. It is so sickening. It's so sickening to the point where you have those members in temples, and like me and my husband, we don't mind assisting Moors. Like, we've been doing it for so long, we don't mind assisting Moors as long as you're willing to assist yourself. Like, we have a lot of programs that Moors can participate in, and we don't mind assisting Moors. But I've watched Moors, call us and ask us for assistance, and then they get on social media and talk about how great their leaders and their teachers are. And I'm just like, wow. And don't even give like a thank you, a shout out. No, Neil Bay and his wife, was none of that. And Moors do it all of the time. I'm like, well, if your teacher was so great, why would you have to come over here and get assistance? Because that is a part of the sickness of the man worship. All right. So I want to get into this where, because there was a lot of things that was mentioned on the Facebook thread, like, the prophet never taught us about, they mentioned the word status correction, and driving without a license. I'm just like, what? Nobody even said anything about status correction or driving without a license or any of those things, right?
Automatically put you
automatically will put you in this box that they have created for you, even though you haven't created those boxes for yourself. They're gonna put you in those boxes because their leaders, their teachers have told them, well, if you see you see someone else that's calling themselves a Moorish American and they aren't copy and pasting verbatim from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America or the Moorish literature. Some even go to the extent of the oral statements or the hadiths and prophecies of Prophet Noah Jurali or the warnings of the Prophet. If they're not quoting directly from that, then those aren't Moors. And those aren't more temple Moor. They even give a title to a temple Moor. Like, what even is a temple Moor? Like, that's something that that was something that I didn't even know about. I didn't hear about until several years. I think that started to come around about like 2016. So I was in the temple for a few years before they started to make a difference between a temple Moor and a non-temple Moor. All right. So to clear up some of the things, I'm going to go directly into this right here, where it talks about our authority. Because we love to say, oh, our authority all the time. But it really says the Moorish Science Temple of America deriving its power and authority. So we leave out power, but we say authority all the time, often.
You know why they do that?
Why is that?
Because they're taught that power is illusion.
Okay, Islam. It can change. It changes as the ethers change. Islam. But it says power. This is a part of the Articles of Incorporation. The Articles of Incorporation says it's power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad to propagate the faith and extend the learning and the truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. I want to try to blow this up a little bit more. Let's see. Ooh.
She said, ooh.
That was a lot. Okay. Now, on here, it says the great Quran of Muhammad. I want everybody to go to your Sunday school meeting this Sunday. Ask your Sunday school teacher, if the Moorish Science Temple of America derived its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad, where does the great Quran of Muhammad derive its power and authority from other than Allah? Because I guarantee you, everybody's going to say, oh, Allah, Allah, Allah. We know that. That's the obvious. Other than Allah, where does the great Quran of Muhammad derive its power and authority from? And so next time I go live, I do a class, I'm going to speak about that. But I'm not going to do it until after Sunday. So make sure you ask your Sunday school teacher, where does the great Quran of Muhammad derive its power and authority from? Because if the Moorish Science Temple of America is deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad, then the great Quran of Muhammad has to derive its power and authority from a specific source other than Allah. Islam says to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. Now, another thing is, and this is something that I teach in our new members class, On the back of a lot of questionnaires, it does not have to anoint, appoint, and consecrate missionaries. Ask your Sunday school teacher why that has been changed. Who changed it? When did it change? Why did it change? Who brought the change about? And it's not even a joke. It's just
not really a joke.
It's sad because
I didn't know you was gonna do it.
This is the Articles of Incorporation. This is the corporate charter.
Wow.
So if this is the corporate charter, this is the Articles of Incorporation. And what the Articles of Incorporation does, the corporate charter does, it shows and it gives descriptors of who the corporate heads are, the name of the corporation, what the corporation is supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Now, most people say, for what purpose was the Moorish Temple of America incorporated? Most will say to uplift fallen humanity. But does this say to uplift fallen humanity? No, it says to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. Period. To anoint, appoint, and consecrate missionaries of the prophet, and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America. That's what Moorish Science Temple of America is to do according to the corporate charter, the corporate Articles of Incorporation. Nothing else.
Tell that truth.
It doesn't say to uplift fallen humanity. It doesn't say to teach men and women to be themselves. It doesn't say to teach civics. It don't say that.
It don't say none of that.
However, to propagate the faith and extend the learning and the truth, the great prophet of Ali in America, to anoint, appoint, consecrate missionaries of the prophet, and to establish the faith of Muhammad in America, and deals with all of those things.
Huh?
Oh, yeah, it deals with all those things. I'm going to show you how.
Okay. Well, there is a saying from Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who says we should seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And we know Emil told the Moors to be what? Intelligent on all subject matters.
Islam. So let's get into it. Because when propagating the faith of Muhammad, right?
Get out your class. I'm here though. I'm here.
When propagating the faith of Muhammad and extending the learning of Ali, of the prophet of Ali in America, look, in order to do that, you have to really be yourself. I know that many of us don't really want to go under our own vine and fig tree, and we truly don't even understand what that means, but it's really simple. I'm going to break it down so that children can understand it, because that is my mode of teaching, where a child can understand it. Going under your own vine and fig tree has everything to do with the very first portion, or the very first divine instruction from the Holy Prophet that is given to us in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. It says, "Know thyself and thy Father God, Allah." That's it, Moors. That's the very beginning. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Know thyself and thy Father God, Allah. That's going under your own vine and fig tree. Then we have warnings. All of us have warnings, right? That deals with us governing ourselves under our own vine and fig tree. says, dear readers, because even if you're not a member of the Moorish Temple of America, you still have an obligation to be under your own vine and fig tree. Says, dear readers, do not forcefully use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness, and for all those who love Jesus. Then it says, dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons, you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of hate, right? So the warnings, the direction that the prophet gave to mother and father is to govern yourselves, even to the readers, govern yourselves accordingly under your own vine and fig tree. That's what your household is, your own vine and fig tree. So before you can come under the vine and fig tree as a collective, which is the Uniting of Moorish Temple of America, the United of Asia, you got to get your own home together. This is the reason why the prophet said, if you could think, you can save yourself. Islam. So let's get into a Muslim customary law. Surah 2265 says, do you not see that Allah has subjected you to whatever is on the earth in the ships which run through the sea by his command, and he restrains the skies from the falling upon the earth unless by his permission. Indeed, Allah to the people is kind and merciful. All right. So right here in this surah, it's explaining that Allah has given us governance over the earth and the ships which run through the sea. So this this right here, right, where the prophet has 1 foot on the land and 1 foot on the earth, which is, on 1 foot on the sea, which is the front cover of our questionnaire. This right here is a representation of Surah 2265. And then is backed by the back cover of the questionnaire, which is our power and authority. So the prophet is tying us back to not only the noble Quran, but we also see this front cover description in Revelation. Was that Revelation 10?
Revelation 10.
Revelation 10. I'm going to read it.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
I'm going to read the King James Version. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head. Well, what do we see the prophet? What is upon his head? A rainbow is upon his head, right? Figure 1, the fez. And his face was as if it were the sun. And his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book.
A little book.
What is this? What is this?
A little book now.
He had in his hands a little book.
Oh, wait. Signs and symbols for the conscious mind.
Open, and he set his right foot upon the sea. And his left foot on the earth. and cried with a loud voice as when a lion roareth.
Okay.
What was the cry that the prophet was given? Said, if you think your conditions can be better, join the Moorish Science Temple of America. Said, come all ye Asiatics, and learn the truth about who you are, about who we are.
Islam.
And when he had cried 7 thunders, come on now.
7 Elohim.
7 thunders uttered their voices.
Oh.
And I'm going to stop right there.
You're in the ether.
Because I want to get into
you are in the ether.
How we are able to be ourselves without molestation. The following excerpts was taken from Note on Article 9 of the Statute of the Permanent Court of International Justice and the position of the Muslim legal system and the Muslim civilization among the main forms of civilizations and principal legal systems of the world presented by the delegations of the Muslim states of the Near East. The Muslim legal system is a system of unquestionable originality. Its autonomy is evident as a legal system largely governed by the distinctive character of a community, very different from that in which other legal systems have reached normative maturity. The International Congress on Comparative Law, which was held at The Hague in 1932, decided that Muslim law is an entire Muslim law. Okay, Muslim law.
That's Sharia. You talking about Sharia law?
Muslim law. I'm talking about Muslim law, Muhammadan law, because Muhammadan law is not the same as Sharia now. Muslim law, Muhammadan law, the laws that we make according to Act 1 of our divine constitution and bylaws, the laws that we institute
in
chapter 47, verse 14. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and to create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet in the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before the great and awful day that is sure to come. All right? So here it is. This is after the prophet physical form is no longer on the earth plane, right? In 1932, the international body of government, right? Says that Muslim law is an entirely independent source of comparative law. In 1938, when the question of the relationship between Roman law and Muslim law was brought to the consideration of the Second Congress on Comparative Law, the Congress stated explicitly that Muslim law was an autonomous legal system which did not depend on other established systems. This is more evidence, another source that can be used internationally of us being our own, under our own vine and fig tree, handling our own affairs, being ourselves under Muslim law. Thus, Muslim legislation translates in a truly remarkable way all social transformations required by the development and progress of the Muslim community, welcoming certain pre-Islamic institutions, correcting numerous points of the pre-existing law, and lastly, listen now, because this is what the prophet said in Chapter 47, verse 14. Formulating new principles in consideration of the needs and aspirations of Islamic society. So when more say things like, oh, the prophet didn't bring that. Oh, no, the prophet didn't. Oh, no, that's not what the prophet meant. The prophet said this, and this is the only way that you can demonstrate what the prophet said. Who told you that? Your priest?
Man knows not by being told.
Who told you that? Your priest?
Right.
Because I can show you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you. Let's go to it. Let's get it. I'm going to go to the book of Ruth.
Uh-oh. Ruth.
The 4th chapter.
Truth.
Because it was said that I'm not teaching the prophet.
Uh-oh.
Right? I'm not teaching the divine. And let me say that over. I'm not teaching the divine instructions from the holy prophet. Right? Now, before I go to Ruth, let me go to...
You should give a shout out to Brother Tyrone Session. He's been saying a lot of great things to you in there.
All right. Islam, Brother Tyrone Session. Gratitude, brother. Gratitude for everybody that's coming in.
What's the saying? Yeah.
Everybody that's coming in the chat, gratitude to you all.
She dropped the mic for you.
Gratitude. All right. Let me get to... I want to go on the questionnaire for Moorish Americans. Right?
Peace and love.
That's backed by our law. That's backed by our articles of incorporation, because, right, that's on the back of it. Let's go to it. See if I can share this. Questionnaire, question number 27, or instruction 27. Will you give in brief the line genealogy which Jesus came? Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. So let's go to the book of Ruth. Because I love the book. When I figured out when I figured out what the book of Ruth really was, I was like, I grew up reading the book of Ruth. The only time, every Mother's Day, every time they had a service about appreciation for women, they will always read out of the book of Ruth, and they will always talk about how Ruth was such a virtuous woman. And it was not, honestly, y'all, it was not until this year. All of my life, I've been reading the book of Ruth. It wasn't until this year where I realized really what the book of Ruth was. I'll show you.
Take your time, teach that lesson.
Because it was said that I don't teach the divine instructions of the holy prophet.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to go to, I'm not even going to read the whole book. We're going to go to chapter 4. It says, then went Boaz up to the gate and set him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, and to whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and he sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here. And they sat. See, back in the day, in our ancient customs, we would have a group of council members.
That's right.
Right? The same thing that we have and we see on the back of our questionnaire, which is our articles of incorporation. We have a group of council members. We have a group of incorporators that's going to make sure that the business within the city gets done. And these are the co-incorporators as well as the co-witnesses, right? If you look at the Constitution for the United States of America, you see the co-signers. They are all signing off, being a witness one to another. So, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimex, Elimex. He said it was our brother Elimex. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, come on, y'all, this is talking about land and real estate. Land and it's talking about advertising the sale of the land in real estate. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, but it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people, if thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. Now, didn't the prophet come to redeem us? I mean, everybody in the chat, if the prophet came to redeem us, y'all put y'all sevens in the chat. Go ahead and put y'all fire emojis in the chat, because the prophet came to redeem us, right?
That's right.
But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee. And I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. So what they're doing is they're talking about, they're in a council meeting, they're in a business meeting, talking about Naomi's land. And if the kinsman is going to buy it, or if he's going to pass on it, because if he's going to buy it, then Boaz can't purchase it. So now Boaz can't purchase Ruth. All right? Because Naomi and Ruth is a package deal. You can't just have Naomi without Ruth, and you can't have Ruth without Naomi. Remember, Ruth could have went back home to her father, who was a Moabite king. But she said, no, I'm going to go with my mother-in-law. I'm going to stick it out with her. And I believe that Allah is going to work it out for us, that we're going to have someone to be able to take our trust, our inheritance, and bring it under their estate. Because in our ancient customs of husbandry, because this is what this book is teaching us.
That's right.
These lessons is teaching us ancient customs of husbandry. But we've forgotten for so long that we say it and it sounds cute. Food, clothing, and shelter, that's husbandry. We talk about securities, that's husbandry. We talk about wealth and inheritance, that's under the ancient customs and laws of husbandry. That is the Mohammedan law. Don't believe me? Go and research. The majority of Mohammedan law has everything to do with inheritance, rights of children and women when it comes to inheritance. It has majority of has to do with real estate and real property. That's the majority of Muhammadan law. Sharia law, the majority has to do with how you live. Like Sharia law actually had to teach Sharia law actually had to teach people how to wash.
It didn't wash.
How to wash. How to pray. How to speak to one another, how to greet each other. How to have respect for one another. But Muhammadan law has, the majority of it has to deal with property rights, inheritance, our ancient laws and customs of husbandry. It said, then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Because, you know, Ruth was married to Naomi's son who died in war. So he couldn't just buy Naomi's land, but he also had to buy Ruth's inheritance, which was her husband, what she received from her husband, as well as what she had received from her father. Because in the olden times, when we were married under our ancient laws and customs of husbandry, your father would give your inheritance to your husband so that your husband would be able to keep your trust within his estate so that it can have the man over the estate. Because if the man, like today, majority of us, we out here just naked with no one to actually cover our trust. So we have the state of covering our trust. And this is the reason why the state is always in your business. This is the reason why the state is telling you what you can do, what you can't do. Oh, we on lockdown right now. Nobody can go outside. Or you can only go outside at this time. Oh, if you're not a frontline worker, then you can't be on the street at a certain time. Oh, if you're a frontline worker, you got to go and get an experiment shot. Oh, well, because the state said, and the crazy part about it is when you begin to look at what the state said, all the state said was mandatory. The state didn't pass any actual laws to force anybody to do anything. Even when you look at legislation that the state has passed, the state does not make you do anything. We still have the choice. But because we believe that the state is our zaddy, let's be honest.
It is about these people, Dad.
The state be our zaddy out here. Because we be out here in these streets of commerce allowing the state to tell us what we're going to do and what we can't do because we're too lazy to be under our own vine and fig tree. It's too much work to actually be under our own vine and fig tree. So it says, and the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. He said, man, look, unless I give up my own inheritance, I can't afford Naomi and Ruth. That they cost too much. So now Boaz is able to come in and say, now this was the manner informed the time of Israel concerning redeeming. Come on, y'all. This is concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel. So that's how he gave his word. He took off his shoes. And he gave it to his neighbor to make sure his neighbor is going to make sure he does what? He adheres to the contract. Because, see, his neighbor ain't going to go out like, oh, Boaz. He had that business, but, man, he ain't paid for it. He didn't go out in the street and do that. That's not what the neighbor would do. The neighbor would be the witness to go to the council. Remember the Council of 10? That's who the neighbor would go to if Boaz did not uphold his portion of the bargain. His neighbor wouldn't go to YouTube and tell YouTube, man, look at Brother Boaz. Let me pull up the screenshot, y'all. Y'all can't believe. Let me show y'all what Brother Boaz did. Now, you see this picture right here? Brother Boaz, in this picture right here, he telling everybody in the streets, he told all the Moors that he was going to purchase Naomi and Ruth's inheritance, and he didn't. It's a scam. He scammed them. See, that ain't what the neighbors did back in the day. They went directly to the council. Right? Because that's what we do in the Moorish Temple of America. We go directly to the council so whatever matter that we have with one another, amongst one another, we're not out here in the public streets. We're going to the council. Therefore, the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and to all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Shilon's and all Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased. Come on, y'all. What did the prophet tell us? Didn't he say purchase her?
Uh-oh.
Ain't that what he said?
They gonna say you making up stuff on the prophet now.
I mean, he said that. He said that in the marriage laws.
So,
it's in your Moorish literature. He said that in the marriage laws.
Right.
Have I purchased to be my wife to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. See, Islam. The book of Ruth is about a book of inheritance, about of regaining a lost estate. So I don't know what they talking about Sister K Glover Ill. She ain't teaching the prophet and she ain't teaching more science. They got to come with something different. Because these are receipts. These are our receipts. Let's get it.
Well, that's what the people like now. They like receipts now.
Because I know what I just showed is going to be hard for a lot of us, right? So let me show you something else. A lot of us ain't going to understand it. A lot of us ain't going to get it. A lot of us going to be like, well, the prophet didn't bring that anyway. All right, let me show you. We in chapter 10 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. Right? Because Moorish Temple of America is a charitable philanthropic mission, an agrarian society, a body politic, a corporation. Right? These are parts within the Moorish Temple of America. So let's get into this Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. chapter 10, verse 15. Verse 15. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Ali, by the guidance of his father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from sinful fallen stage of humanity back to his highest plan of life with his father, God Allah. Islam. Chapter 10, verse 15. All men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as Allah of might, another as Allah of thought, another as Allah of love. A man's ideal is his God, and so as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today, tomorrow is not God. The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view, and so he does not seem the same to everyone. Man names the part of Allah he sees, and this to him is all of Allah. And every nation sees a part of Allah, and every nation has a name for Allah. All right? So I can understand why Moors would say, well, you know, Sister K. Glover Hill, she ain't teaching from the prophet, divine instructions from the holy prophet. She ain't, the prophet didn't bring that. But I'm still able to show and prove that the prophet actually did bring everything that I just said. Like, I'm not making any of this up. Let's go to chapter 2. Before we go to chapter 2, let's go to chapter 11. Chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 20. From Allah's own record book. What is a record book? What is a record book? What is a record book? Because I know that in one of those pictures that I post, there is a record book on it. Let me see. Here we go. Record book. A record book. Right here. Record book. Bookkeeping. It's a record book. And we're to imitate the prophet, right? And we're talking about from Allah's own record book. So if Allah's keeping a record book, we're to keep a record book as well. Islam?
Islam. That's right. Sound like bookkeeping to me.
It definitely sound like bookkeeping to me. If I didn't know what bookkeeping was and I only read record book and somebody used to ask me, have you ever seen a record book before? I say, yeah, from Allah's own record book. I seen it in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. Reads from Allah's own record book. We read the triune Allah breathed forth and stood seven spirits before his face. The Hebrews call these 7 spirits Elohim. And these are they who in their boundless power created everything that is or was. These spirits of the triune Allah moved on the face of boundless space, and 7 others were, and every other had its form of life. Oh my goodness. We see a form. I can't make this up. We see a form every time we look at this right here, right? This actually at the very top of it, let me go to it. Because, see, I didn't make any of this up. I'm just presenting. I'm just the messenger. Not like the messenger. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. But I am a messenger bringing a message. Let's see if I can blow it up for y'all. Okay. This right here says form number 1099. I didn't create that. I didn't make that up. It is that not what chapter 11 is saying? Didn't it just say that these spirits of the triune allow moved on the face of the boundless space, and 7 others were, and every other had its form of life? These forms of life were but the thought of Allah, clothed in the substance of their ether planes. Men call these ether planes the planes of protoplasm, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, and cherubim. These planes, with all their teeming thoughts of Allah, are never seen by eyes of man and flesh. They are composed of substance far too fine for fleshly eyes to see, and still they constitute the soul of things. And with the eyes of soul, all creatures see these ether planes in all forms of life, because all forms of life on every plane are thoughts of Allah. All creatures think, and every creature is possessed of will, and in its measure has the power to choose. So just like this is a form, there's other forms too. Now, when you join the temple here, you got to fill out an application. That's a form. For all those who sign up for our 25 Families Initiative, you're going to fill out another form. Most of us are filling out forms every day of our lives, not really understanding that we can, mark out like the prophet did. What the prophet do right here on this form? Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Let's go back to it.
He marked out some things. Huh?
Yeah, he marked out some things. Let's see what he marked. Oh, he marked out trustees on this form. He said, I'm going to go under my own vine and fig tree under this form.
What that's about?
I'm the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, so I'm going to go incorporate Moorish Science Temple of America under this form. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Because these forms of life, these forms that we're constantly creating, these forms are here. And, it starts off while we're just thinking. Because that's where it starts, in that thought. So as we're thinking about it, we're constantly creating it so we can manifest it in another form. So it goes from one form to another form. But what happens is we got the God complex going on, because these are the issues. The God complex. My Grand Sheikh said, the Prophet said, my master teacher said, the elder said. The temple does not meet the people where they are today. The temple does not teach civics. When I was in the temple, they didn't give me what I needed. Those are the issues that we hear every single day from the people. those who never even came to a temple got issues with the temple. Like, what? How you got an issue with something that you don't even know about? How you got an issue with something? Islam, yes, brother. Charvel, yes, that is the Articles of Incorporation, brother. How you got an issue with something that you're not even a part of?
The mental sickness.
Because your priest told you. That's infiltrated. No, they don't teach civics over there. How, Sway? How won't teach civics? Make that make sense.
They don't know. And they don't know what civic is. Again, they only know what they teach and tell.
Well, my priest told me. My priest told me.
Yep.
My priest said. Let's get to the questionnaire. Verse number 66, because this is... I'm going to nip this one in the bud. Instruction number 66. Pardon myself.
Higher self, lower self.
Come on now. How many cells are there? 2. Name them. Higher self and lower self.
That's right.
What people represent the higher self? The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. What people represent the lower self? Those who were cast out of the holy city, and those who accept their teachings. 70. What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtues and harmonies of life and breed justice, mercy, love, and right. Can the higher self pass away? No. Why? Because it is Allah in man. 73. What does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. 74. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met Satan? Where are you going, Satan? 75. What was the answer the lower self gave to the higher self? I am going to and fro, seeking whom I may devour. 76. Has he finished his task of devouring?
Yes.
Yes. 77. When was his time declared out? When he nailed Jesus to the cross. When he nailed Jesus to the cross, his time was declared. So you got to think about it. There was a declaration that was made. When he nailed Jesus to the cross, that his time was over. Wow. What were the last words Jesus uttered? It is finished. What did he have reference to? He had reference to the end of Satan. Did Jesus say that he would return to conquer him? Yes. What is the first name of the person into whom Jesus was first reincarnated? Prophet Muhammad, the Conqueror. Was Satan to be bound then? Satan was bound in part. When was the head of Satan taken off? 1453 Byzantine. By whom? by Muhammad. So going through these questions, ask again, how many selves are there? If the lower self time was declared over, done, it is finished, he has no more tasks, is there truly a lower self?
Islam.
Hmm.
Illusions of the world.
Illusions of the world. I like that.
That's what the prophet said.
Illusions of the world. I know that's what the prophet said.
Yeah, that's chapter 3.
But I like that. Because, a lot of times Morris keeps saying, it's 2 cells, it's 2 cells, it's 2 cells, it's 2 cells.
2 cells.
Wouldn't we really love it to be like, for majority of us, we really would love. And sometimes, even when we in our hearts, we would love, man, I wish it really was 2 cells. So I can act out.
It's actually 7.
So I could do what I want to do.
And that's coming from science.
So I can say what I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I could just live my life because I only got one life to live. It's too strict living in righteousness.
That's what they say too and believe.
I can't do all that in the temple. I got to go and do me. So is really 2 cells or is it 1 cell? We won't be finding out tonight. Something you can take to your Sunday school. Ask your Sunday school teacher how many cells is it. Let's get back to this God complex. Because, my grand sheik, the prophet said, the master teacher said, the elder said, the grand sheik said it's 2 cells. I believe my grand sheik, because my grand sheik been doing
parallel this. Parallel universe is what they call it.
My grand sheik been parallel universe. As above, so below. Yeah, right. Parallel universe. Yeah, it's 2 cells.
2 cells.
2 cells. The brother Shavar said the Bible is civics. That's right. Islam.
I thought he was calling in.
I hate that I have to switch from screen to screen to screen and share every time.
Is he calling in?
So we get to go back to the God complex.
Yes.
The temple does not meet the people where they are today. Today I had a phone call and a brother called and he said, Grand Sheik is, I was gone on vacation for a week. It said the day after I left for my vacation, my job sent me an email and said that I needed to do the weekly mandatory testing, and I needed to let them know by the end of the day today. Now, they knew prior that he was going to be out all week, and they made it mandatory for him today. So we had to go in and do his court hearing assessment. Because, Morris, we have our own court.
Wow.
Yeah, we got our own court, just like in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. What was that chapter? What was that, chapter 14?
Chapter Justice.
Chapter 14, where John was in the court.
Oh, you just gave it Holy Night. Wasn't that Holy Night?
Yeah, John was out there in the court making all types of declarations.
7 days, quiet. Quiet 7 days.
John was out there.
Thought he was a weirdo.
You know, putting all those motions in. Woo! So I had to go in and had to do the court assessment so that he can get to his employer before the end of the day, you know, just to let him know, look, we know, because the gig is up over here. We know that not only is it mandatory, but it is not law at all. It's mandatory because somebody who they take to go eat ice cream every day is telling everybody it's mandatory. So if they put this man up here, talking about Biden, they put this man up here walking him to the Dairy Queen again one more time. It's like he get ice cream for doing what he's supposed to be doing. But going back to the court, right? Because it's saying that the temple doesn't teach civics, and it doesn't meet the people where they are today. And we did the court assessment hearing for him, and he emailed it off. So we're just waiting to hear back because, you know, the next step is court, judicial court, to be able to submit our evidence that we had previously provided them. Because this is the third document. You know, 1, 2, 3, and we out. We in judicial court at that time. So let's go to chapter 14. Let's talk about this court, chapter 14. And I'm going to be finishing here soon. Chapter 14, John the Harbinger returns to Hebron, lives as a hermit in the wilds, visits Jerusalem, and speaks to the people. It came to pass when John, the son of Zacharias and Elizabeth, had finished all his studies in the Egyptian schools, he returned to Hebron, where he had abode for certain days. So the Egyptian schools that John was talking about is right here in chapter 2. Right, where his mother and his aunt, they were learning in the sacred grove, and the teachers was Elohim and Islam. Said, and then he sought the wilderness and made his home in David's cave, where many years before he was instructed by the Egyptian sage. Elohim and Salome. Some people called him hermit of Engedi, and others said he is the wild man of the hills. He clothed himself with skins of beasts. His food was carrots, honey, nuts, and fruits. So yeah, he was eating granola bars because carrots, honey, nuts, and fruits. So those are granola bars.
Let's make some, Barnesdale. He got that vegan.
He was eating granola bars. All right. When John was 30 years of age, he went into Jerusalem in the marketplace. He sat in silence 7 days. So he went on a 7-day fast.
That's right.
While he was in the marketplace.
No communication.
So he was he was right there.
Right there in the middle of the mall.
Right in the mall where all the commerce is going.
They doing all they
because you know they said I don't teach the divine instructions for the holy prophets. So when I put up, how to do commerce, when I put up how to correct contracts that you previously set up, when I put up, redeem, and
a lot of Moors couldn't teach that because they didn't know that back in the day.
I mean,
those Moors were they were students. Most prisoners, okay, most temples are ran by those who have been educated in prison. You did have some school teachers. You did have some professional people who were in the Moorish Temple of America, but most of the teachers, or who we call teachers, are brothers who have did many years in prison, so they can only teach what they know. That's it.
I mean, if they ain't in prison no more,
they still in prison, sister. They still in prison. Just because you out here don't mean you still not in that. Just look at the brother on that one YouTube video. What you say?
Yeah.
He's in prison.
Definitely.
Certain Moors. Think about all these sheik wars, all these fights that you got.
Prison.
That all comes from prison.
That comes from prison.
All that that's going on in Moorish Temple America, that comes from prison. Sheik wars. Now, I can remember there was no such thing out here in the world, sheik wars. Not like it is today.
Prison. So they're out in the marketplace.
And get out to me.
And he sat in silence 7 days.
Pleasant Bay used to teach that. Silent meditation for 7 days.
A 7-day fast and watching all the commerce.
Yeah. Still handle your business.
Handle your business.
You can't talk. Can't say anything. Nod your head and keep going. Hold your heart and keep going. Some people need to practice that.
Islam. The common people and the priests, the scribes and Pharisees, came out in multitudes to see the silent hermit of the hills. But none were bold enough to ask him who he was. But when his silent past was done, he stood forth in the midst of all and said, "Behold, the king has come." The prophets told of him, the wise men have long looked for him. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. That's a declaration. He's in the marketplace making declarations. Behold, the king has come. The prophets told of him, the wise men long have looked for him. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. And that was all he said, and then he disappeared. And no one knew where he had gone. And there was great unrest through all Jerusalem. The rulers heard the story of the hermit of the hills, and they sent couriers forth to talk with him. See, they sent UPS, they sent FedEx, they sent the Amazon driver, they sent Uber, they sent the couriers forth to talk with him, that they might know about the coming king, but they could find him not. And after certain days, he came again into the marketplace, and all the city came to hear him speak. He said, "Behold, not disturbed, you rulers of the state. The coming king is no antagonist. He seeks no place on any earthly throne. He comes the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Righteousness and love. His kingdom is within the soul. The eyes of men see it not, and none can enter but the pure in heart. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. Again, the hermit disappeared. The people strove to follow him, but he had drawn a veil about his form. Here go another form. Here go another form. And men could see him not. Jewish feast day came. Jerusalem was filled with Jews and proselytes from every part of Palestine. And John stood in the temple court. Here's John in the court. John, what are you doing in the court? Prophet Jesus don't be in no courts. What you doing in the court? Moors, what you doing in the court? The prophet Noble Ali don't be in no courts. He ain't in no courts. Because that ain't what the prophet, but you in the court for what? The prophet ain't. I recall the prophet actually being in the court. But Moors today in the temples will tell you, oh no, the prophet, no, we don't do that. We don't do no, we ain't in no court. No, because the prophet didn't tell us to do that. We not being in no court because the prophet didn't. Are you for real? You got to go to court for, a lot of times you got to go to court for almost anything. You might be going to court for property rights. Your neighbor is impeding on your property. So you got to go to court. Someone hit you from behind, so now you got to go to court. But for some reason, Moors in the temple have act like being in the court is a sin. And that's what somebody had put on that Facebook page earlier. It said that is a sin. Be up in the court. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. So you have lived in sin, because it is sin. If you in the court and doing this, I'm going to tell you what you're sinning when you're in the court and you're doing this. The poor cry in your streets and you regard them not. Your neighbors, who are they? You have defrauded friends and foes alike. You worship Allah with voice and lip. Your hearts are far away and set on gold. Your priests have bound upon the people's burdens far too great to bear. They live in ease upon the hard-earned wages of the poor. Your lawyers, doctors, scribes are useless cumbers of the ground. They are but tumors of the body of the state. What are those tumors? The tumors of the wars of the state. The tumors are the undesirables, the Negroes, the colors folks, the Black people, the Ethiopians, the African Americans, etc. So that is why it is very important that you correct that. It is very important that you go and get your ill or your bay title. Because that's what the redemption, that's a part of the redemption that Prophet Noble Ali brought us all. They toil not, neither do they spend, yet they consume the profits of your marts of trade. Come on, y'all. You can let them keep just taking advantage of you. You're not going to go under your own vine and fig tree because it just feels comfortable. Because, my mother and my grandfather and my great-great-great-grandmother, we didn't all work for the man all our lives. We toil all our lives for the man. So it's just easier to be under the vine and fig tree that they created for us, which is nothing but a corporate fiction that we don't know how to utilize. This is the reason why they are not toiling and they're not spinning, but they consume all the profits of our marts and trade. Your rulers are adulterers, extortioners, and thieves, regarding not the rights of any man. See, because they don't regard and they don't respect rights of living men and women. But that Title 15 that I put up there on that page, on that picture, Title 15, that is consumer rights, because it says, yet they consume the profits of your marts and trade. All of us have consumer rights as consumers. I implore everyone to study Title 15 so that you can get your remedies for them consuming your profits of your marts and trades. You rulers are adulterers, extortioners, and thieves, regarding not the rights of any man. And robbers ply their calling in the sacred hills. The holy temple have sold to thieves. Their dens are in the sacred places set apart for prayer. Here's another declaration in the court. Here's an affidavit in the court. Here's a motion in the court. Here's a bill in the court. Here, you people of Jerusalem, reform. Oh, I'm about to end this. Reform. Turn from your evil ways of Allah. Will turn from you. And heathen from afar will come. And what is left in your honor and your fame will pass in one short hour. It's a reform. I want to thank everybody who came out tonight and joined me in this meeting. If anybody wants to call in, I gotta plug this up. If anybody wants to call in, I'm gonna put the call-in number right here. My extension is 101. So I just dropped my number. That's right, brother. The prophet is the law. My number is in here. If anybody wants to call in, I'm gonna give everybody a chance to call in.
Islam. It's the noble chain breaker Barzell today.
Islam, brother.
Islam. One thing from the presentation that I seen, Islam, that I would like to call in and just bring out a little more is the concept of form as it applies to the common day every person. And we seen the word form. We heard you read from the Circle 7. But what is a legal concept of form, right? Islam.
Islam.
Islam. The legal concept of form is the external shape or structure of something, as distinguished from its substance or matter. Form is also a legal document with blank spaces to be filled in by the drafter. For example, the divorce lawyer used permitted forms that a secretary could fill in Islam, just as if we seen on the document that you demonstrated with the people. And you seen that there's a river from the secretary. This is on the form that you got to fill in, lines, the 105905 document number. He's scratching out certain words, making it his own form now, because he got the right to do that. Even the law say you can use the terms that you wish that fits the duties of the person. So the concept of form is not just biblical, Quranical. It's not just off in the ethers, because we have proper ether form, and we're making and connecting ourselves. We're making salah, Islam, and that is just a very interesting note to bring out, because we have a bunch of thoughts in our head. But how do we apply them in proper form? We have certain money or assets, but how do you use them in the proper format?
Yeah.
Islam. So gratitude, Islam.
Islam, gratitude. Thank you for calling in. Definitely. You know, I was taught by one of the greats, all right? I was taught by one of the greats when the Moors would come together in the holy city of Mecca, right? Everybody would be in a circle and he would be teaching everyone, right? He went by the name of Sultan Khan Bey, may Allah be pleased with him. And one of the first lessons that he gave me was to learn how to understand, read, and break down every chapter, every word that Prophet Noble Drew Ali not only prepared, but what he also wrote. And look at it in three forms. One is my form of my religious book, my law book, and later on, I began to see the parallels of my religious book and my law book, because he gave that to me. But I developed and learned to add on to it my financial book, right? My book of accounting, because I worked in merchant services. I worked in the financial sector and corporate for many years. And I just saw so many parallels, like that parallel of that higher self and that lower self. And it's really still all one pamphlet, right? But there's different forms within the pamphlet. I was saying, thank you, brother. I'm going to go ahead and, did you have anything else to say? Or I'm going to go ahead and let you go on the line.
Islam. Not at all. Just the document too. Understanding written instruments. Islam. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Gratitude. So I was saying earlier today that, we look at the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and it's like we forget that it was divinely prepared by the noble Prophet Drew Ali. So that means that the book was already here. There's actually several books that you can go to, and it has the chapter of religion in it. It has the chapter of sincerity in it. It has even the Asiatic Covenant, but it's not called the Asiatic Covenant. It in one of the books actually says that an ancient Brahmin gave it to the author. It says that the ancient Brahmin gave it to him. So we have to remember that these are universal ancient instructions. It is not something new. We have a chapter within our Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America titled Master and Servant. About 5 years ago, I was looking at Master and Servant. It just kept hitting on me. So I began to research, and I found that there is a 3-volume book entitled Master and Servant. And I remember at that time, you couldn't go, I was trying to Google it, and I was only able to get like 1 volume, but I couldn't get the other 2 volumes. But I knew a brother who went to the University of Berkeley, and I called him like, bro, I need you to get me these other volumes. And he got me the other volumes. I was like, man, this is really, really dope, because it goes in and it demonstrates and it gives you all of the points, and it gives you the relationship of the master and the servant, how the master has to treat the servant, how the servant has to treat the master, how much the servant is supposed to be paid in wages, how many times can the servant go on vacation for holidays, how the master is supposed to be fair, how the servant can actually bring the master into court if he's not adhering to the laws of the master and the servant. So it's just always funny to me when I hear Moors who aren't members of a temple, when they say that the temple does not teach civics. And then on the other hand, when there's Moors who are members within the temple and they say, well, the prophet didn't bring that. Well, you don't know what it is that you are reading. And you have to stop allowing, going back to what I originally started off with, that this is not a cult. Stop allowing these leaders and these teachers to diminish your light. Get into your lessons. Understand what it is that you are reading. Begin to develop them in real life, in reality, because that's what Moorish science is about. It's not about being stuck in the clouds. You might as well go to the metaverse for that. If you want to be stuck in a virtual reality, go to the metaverse and stay there, because the rest of us are going to be here doing the work. Because all of us can't be in the metaverse every day, all day. Not all of us. Some of us have to stay here and do the work. Don't get caught up. Get out of that matrix. Get under your own vine and fig tree. Your own vine and fig tree begins with those warnings. Readers, mothers, fathers, govern yourselves. Govern your own household. I just taught an entire series for about 2.5 months entitled, I Got Trust Issues. And it was about establishing your own personal trust in your family's estate. And so now I'm teaching bookkeeping 102. And it'll be for about 1.5 months that I'll be teaching this course, this series. And you're going to learn how to run your own family thrift. Moore's laughing. Ha ha, she's talking about a thrift. And I'm like, you do not know what a thrift is? A thrift is a savings bank. You're supposed to know how to run your own family's bank. You know, they put a new, fancy view on it now. They call it infinite banking. But it's family banking. You're not going outside of your family to manage your family's bank. These are all things that we all should know. If we don't know, we should be getting in the class. We should be taking some courses. We should be getting certified, etc. in these things, because there's no way that we're going to be running a nation. It's no way we're going to be running a nation. We can't even run a household. Make that make sense. This is why you got so much confusion. This is why you got so much wickedness. This is why you got so much deceit, lying, stealing, embezzlement within the temples. Because you don't know how to run your own household. So how are you going to run a temple? You don't own any property. So how are you going to run how are you going to run a business? You don't even have a business. How are you going to run a business? But you talking about you want to be a grand sheik. And then you talking about you want to be a supreme grand sheik at that. A national grand sheik at that. You talking about you want to be a governor and you don't even own any property in any of the region that you're a governor in. What are you governing? Because your landlord governing you. You got to stop playing. It's time out for the games. It's time out for the jokes. We got to get out of the sky and get into reality. Because reality is here. Here it is. The majority of us don't grow our own food. So we got to rely on the grocery store to receive nourishment. How are we a nation if we're dependent on other nations to feed, clothe, and shelter us? We're not. I'm not talking about the 7 of us that are. I'm talking about us as a whole. We're not. And if we're not teaching these divine instructions from the Holy Prophet in practical form, so that all of the members can take it and save themselves, then what are we doing? Just saying, oh, I'm the leader. I'm over everybody. Really? Get you some business. Be a leader over that. Islam, again, stop allowing these leaders and these teachers to diminish your light. When they say the prophet didn't bring that, you go and you study and you show and prove where the prophet did bring it. You go and you study and you show yourself approved. Not for them, but for yourself, so that you can know, so that you know how to establish your trust and how to manage, which is govern your family's estate. Islam. With that, I'm going to be getting off of here. I'm going to be ending this live stream. Again, gratitude to each and every one of you all who came out. Thank you for all of the comments. Again, to our sponsor, More Hemp World, you can go to www.morehemp.world. You can use my 10% coupon within the description and get you 10% off of my sponsorship. With that, peace and love, everyone. Islam. Oh, before I go, if anybody wants to contact us, I'm at 877-808-2477, extension 101. You can also go to our website, www.mstahohr805.co. Put the link in the chat. You can also get toilet paper from our toilet tissue company, Central Asiatic. CentralAsiatic.com. And y'all know how to get in touch with Brother Richard Neal Bay, Brother R. Neal Bay, because he on all the socials. With that, peace and love. Islam.